Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Springfield at the St. John's College of Nursing, the oldest Catholic school of nursing in the country, celebrating its 125th anniversary this year. We got a chance to round up some of the former students, some recent, some went to school as many as 60 years ago here. Ah, the memories. Sister Agnes, you had the honor of having been the director of this school for 16 years.
Yes.
Ending in the 1980s.
Yes.
And you have been around the school through the heart of its existence, and of course you don't remember 1886, but back in 1886 when this school was started, it was the first Catholic school of nursing in the country.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
That's quite a heritage.
Florence Nightingale was still alive. Florence Nightingale didn't die till 1910. So we were on the forefront, absolutely. After the East Coast, they came to Springfield, Illinois. Absolutely.
I'll be darned. So walk me through some of the milestones that occurred after 1886.
All right. Well, first of all, we had to write our own textbooks. And the priest helped us, and the sisters all got together, and we decided to write the nursing textbook. Okay. The notes on nursing was Florence Nightingale's, and then we wrote the nursing sister, the nursing, and put in that very practical things that the sisters would be expected to do in a hospital at that time in the 1880s, late 1880s. They were very practical things on feeding, on keeping things clean. That was big. We were a German community, and so the cleanliness is very dear to us. Neatness, and that's how we were taught, and that was just right the same thing that Florence Nightingale said. She said we have to put the body in a spirit and the state where God and the doctors can work on them. And that was how we started. Then it got popular, that little textbook, and we decided maybe we should admit lay women. And we did. We admitted 3 lay women, kind of as they were an experiment.
Kind of a pilot program.
They were a pilot program, and it worked out. And other women wanted to come to our school of nursing. And so we got to be a 1-year, then a 2-year, and eventually a 3-year school, 3 years of nursing. And you can think now, in 1886, we had one little book, and taught all of nursing from that. And eventually, very soon, actually, we were teaching 3 years. The students had wonderful experience, the sisters and the lay sisters, because we had St. John's Hospital to go to. And the doctors would come and teach us. Dr. Hinkle would teach us urology. Dr. Wakehazer and Dr. Hayner would teach us neurology. And they would come from the operating room and come and teach us. So we had a wonderful education, and we got a very good reputation. Eventually, of course, at that time, the women were not allowed to marry. You had to be single. You had to live in the nurse's home. And you had to abide by, I'm going to say, convent rules, okay? Of course, no smoking. Of course, no liquor. Of course, they had to be in early, and of course, they had to stay single for that time. We had a sister, two sisters lived in the nursing home. Sister Anthony and Sister Frances lived in the nursing home and would regularly make rounds to be sure that the girls were not smoking, that they were studying, and they were in their rooms and the lights out at such and such a time. If the girls heard the sisters come off the elevator, Sister Anthony would pull her habit around the rosary so that it wouldn't tinkle, and the girls could all hide or jump into bed. So that she learned to do that. Eventually, the school moved to a more academic setting, and that's when they moved across the street. At the same time, the hospital, as usual, was expanding, and they needed that space. So they took over the Carol Jovecki Maternal and Child Health, and we moved here. And now it's more of a college atmosphere. The classrooms are well equipped. The faculty are well educated, but the spirit is still the same. Nursing is nursing is nursing, and you learn it by nursing, and you learn it by being taught by nurses. And so even after 125 years, I think we can still be very proud of what we have here in Springfield, Illinois.
Teresa Van, in the late 1940s, when you were a student here at the School of Nursing, there was a difference between the lay students and the religious students,
Yes,
wasn't there?
they did not encourage them to spend much time with us because they thought we were pretty worldly.
You might pollute the rest of the population.
Well, I think that was the idea, don't you, Sister? Yeah. Of course, now Sister Agnes, she made her own rules.
Yeah, well, she could.
She could.
Now you're known for having sort of, maybe I wouldn't say complained, but noted that there were a lot of rules involved in nursing school.
There were a lot.
Like what?
Like what?
Like what? Yeah.
Well, you had to be in every night in the building. You had to work until 7, and then you could stay out until 10 after 8.
Oh, really? 10 after. And everybody was a resident here. Everybody stayed in the building.
Absolutely, that was part of the process, and I think it was good in some ways. I think now the students worry more about money, than we did, and they have to work at jobs and do different things to make the money. Of course, I didn't worry. My dad paid the whole thing. When my folks brought me down here, my dad paid the whole thing. That was $300 for 3 years. And I thought that was a giant leap of faith that he thought I would be here 3 years.
Yeah. And that would be worth it, because that was a lot of money.
It was.
But it was worth it because you remained a nurse your whole adult life, didn't you?
I did, absolutely.
In the birthing center. Now, you also had a story to tell about communion. Communion in those days for the people that were staying in the hospital, for some of them was an absolute, almost a necessity every day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. People asked for that.
And there was a lot of formalities that went along with it.
Oh, yes. My senior Casson, God rest his soul, he would just literally at 6 a.m. come running through the hospital bringing communion to all the people who wanted to receive it. And I would always just kind of step back in one of the utility rooms. I was afraid he was going to run me down. I mean, he was really running. And then had one young sister, and then you remember that Sister Teresa, wasn't that her name? And she was really crippled up, and she was really old. And she tried to keep up with them, and it was just something to see that going on every day. You could count on that.
And you had to prepare the people that were going to receive communion, didn't you? What did you have to do to them?
Well, you had to give them a partial bath and change the bed and put a clean thing on here so that for the host if you would drop it.
Wow. Did you learn a particular respect for older people then or later?
Well, I knew that I always was kind to them, but we did used to, ourselves, the students, not in front of the patients, but we used to just have pretty good imitations of the patients. This one poor fellow, he had several strokes, and he talked so funny. He says, "I'm going to Memorial." That's what he would say.
That was a threat. That was
a threat. He was going to go to Memorial. But now I do look at those old people differently, except they did have it pretty well, because this is the truth. We had this one patient that was here 25 years, and you know, that would be unheard of today. No Medicare or anything like that.
No kidding, no kidding.
No kidding.
Well, Teresa, you were a nurse for many, many years. In fact, you quit and went back and quit and went back, and you always went back to the birthing center. And you must have been very devoted and must have loved your profession very much.
I did.
Thank you for visiting with us.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm just happy to tell the world that I appreciated my education at St. John's. I enjoyed the people I worked with and worked for. I have very good feelings about the place because that was undoubtedly my second home.
Sister Chaminade, in the late 1940s, when you went to nursing school here at St. John's College of Nursing, it was a whole different world in nursing, wasn't it?
Yes,
than
it was.
Is now.
Yes, it was.
Were you happy to become a nurse?
Oh, I was thrilled, yes. You said St. John's College of Nursing, and it really wasn't a college at that time either.
Really?
So it was, we used to use the word training school, which isn't a good phrase, I don't think, anymore for adults. I always say training is for animals and education is for adults.
Okay.
But it was so much different, and I had entered the community, of course, with my own agenda in terms of I wanted to be a missionary, foreign missionary, and do wonderful things and work miracles. But the closer I got to the Hospital Sisters of St. Francis, the more I realized that health education and health care was something I really wanted to be a part of. And the mission hopes and realities just never came to be in the way I thought that it might be realized. But the idea of being a nurse was very attractive to me. And in fact, when I graduated from high school, in the book with our pictures and our future, you know, what we're going to be when we grow up and go to college and all that, it said that I was going to be an Army nurse, because I didn't want to tell anybody I was going to go to the convent at that time. But the idea of nursing was always an attraction to me. And I came from not really a health-oriented family, but my brother-in-law was a physician, and I thought that that was so wonderful, and just saw the good that he was doing. And then also, I was in a high school where the missionaries were coming back from China. The Franciscan priests were coming back from China, and with very dramatic stories about what was happening to the country and, well, to the world, but in that part of the country, and to their own health and how they would sacrifice to take care of other people. So that was a wonderful inspiration to me. And so I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know a hospital sister. I had found him in a brochure and followed that trend, and so I think that's what was supposed to happen to me.
It's interesting, too, because you became a psychiatric nurse.
Yes.
And in fact, back when you were sort of assigned that, you didn't really think you had an interest in it, did you?
No, it was just, we sort of waited to see where we were called or where we were placed, and somebody said, this is where we have a need, and so that was our attitude. We wanted to go where we were needed and where we hoped we would do our best. And if we did really poorly, I'm sure somebody would have recognized that and said, why don't you try something different? But and we went through training, and I had that little experience here. And what was famous at that time, 30s, was the psych unit at that time. So all of us, many of the lay students and all of the student sisters went through that, and so I had that experience, and it was interesting, but I still didn't know that that's where I would be as a professional nurse for most of the rest of my life, but I have found it to be great.
You told me earlier that you didn't know this at the time, but it turns out that in your mind, the soul and the mind are interconnected, and that for your purposes of being a person of faith and religion, that psychiatry worked out very well for you.
I really feel that way, because what happens inside a person is a different kind of experience than what happens externally. We have to take care in healthcare of the total person. And so if a person has a broken ankle or something wrong with their head or heart, we try to deal with that, and we try to deal with the total person. But when the basic or primary issue seems to be a heart issue or a spirit issue,
it seems to me that that's closer to the whole integration of the total person and closer to their spiritual development and growth. And so I found that to be very satisfying in what patients are hospitalized for and then struggle with, and that we try to help them with as they grow in health, spiritual health, and psychological health, and mental and emotional health. There's a whole lot to that part.
Well, Brenda Jeffers, of course, the culmination of the 125-year history is the present day.
Yes.
At which time you were the director.
Yep.
But you weren't always the director. Actually 30 years ago, you were on the faculty here.
Yes, I was.
And you were here as a faculty member when they started issuing baccalaureate degrees.
Yes.
Which was a big deal.
It was a big deal. It was a great transition, lots of work. I was very fortunate to be involved in that. And I gained a lot of experience learning how to put together a curriculum. What is the difference between a diploma curriculum and a baccalaureate curriculum where the student is actually receiving an academic degree. So yes, I was part of that transition.
And today, your students, okay, they have a baccalaureate degree when they leave
Yes.
here, but they have a lot more to learn when they go out of here. And in fact, your faculty now has a lot more to learn too, because many of them are trying to get doctorate degrees.
Absolutely. We have the largest percentage of faculty pursuing doctoral degrees than we've ever had.
Wow.
So that says a lot for the quality of education that our students receive. They've always received a great quality education, but we've just continued to move with the times, and our faculty are continuing to move with the times to increase their credentials. So as more demands are placed on students, our faculty have more demands placed on them, and they are able to, they're pursuing degrees now, the doctorate.
Yeah. Chris Maurer, you were in the class of '88,
Yes.
which was noteworthy because I think in '89 the old nursing school came down,
Yeah.
and it was kind of sad, wasn't it?
It was very sad because it was such a homey environment, the old school of nursing, and there was so much tradition there. And nobody can really understand all the stuff that you go through while you're in nursing school because it's such a trying time, it's a busy time. And we all got very close and bonded in the big lounge and a variety of the little areas and classrooms. So we had a lot of memories. So it was really difficult that a lot of times other people can go and visit their college and their alma mater and show people around, but ours it's left to pictures right now and memories.
And in fact, that day, in nursing school, many of you work at the facility where you were
That's
training.
right, yeah.
So you were there to see it.
Oh, and also we were there all the time, as you said, because unlike a traditional college student, we spend a lot of time at clinical. And not only was the School of Nursing attached to the hospital via underground walkway, we worked there, we did our clinicals there, so we ate there in the cafeteria. So we spent a lot of time at the School of Nursing, more so than anybody else. But also the day it imploded, I had graduated and I was working on 6 East, so we actually faced the old School of Nursing. And we know there were bulletins sent out by security and hospital administration saying they didn't want anyone looking out the windows. I don't know whether they were afraid of debris or what. They wanted the curtains closed and everyone away from the windows. But it was such a momentous occasion, and so many people from St. John's that were actually employees had ties to the school that it was too big of a draw for us to obey that rule. So most of us peeked out. But it was sad, and there were a lot of tears shed that day from a variety of people because all those memories were gone in just a matter of minutes.
Do your fellow students, and you see a lot of them still,
Yes,
do they ever give you trouble about your perfect attendance?
Yes, this is one really good thing I got from my dad. He just never called in, and he told us, just calling in isn't an option. Even if you don't feel good, you just set your alarm and you get up and you go. And we always did that. And he took us to school. We were always the first people at school because he wanted to get us there early. And it's just something that carried through. I don't call in at work either, but my fellow students would always get upset because they would tell me that they needed a mental health break. Wasn't I going to take a mental health break? That my attendance was not going to be on my diploma or my pin. And I'm like, no, I'm just not going to call in. So I did receive a perfect attendance award for because at that time they did take attendance for all classes and clinical, and I didn't miss any classes or any clinical at my entire time.
Wow.
But
Your class was close.
Yes,
wasn't
we
it?
were very close.
Yeah, I guess that probably most of them were, don't you?
Yes, I think most of the classes were close because we spend so much time together, because as nursing students we're all studying the same course. Basically we have the same coursework, so all of our classes are together and we go through a lot of the same struggles and work together on projects. So I think we get closer than, like I said, the traditional college student. Our class, I believe, was closer than some, because most of us were right out of high school. We bonded very well. We did a lot of fun things together and just spent a lot of time together. We really helped each other a lot. And at our graduation, one of my friends, she wrote her speech, but in that she referred to us as the family of 1988 as opposed to the class, because we really cared about each other a lot and helped each other through.
Kay O'Neill, when you were the Dean of Academic Affairs during the 1990s, something happens to a school when it goes from being a school that grants diplomas to a college. There's a big change, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Culturally and also specifically with your faculty. There's a
Yes.
lot that you have to research, isn't there?
Yes, there was. And we needed to look at changing the culture of how individuals were teaching and how they were developing, if you will, as faculty persons. One of the things we need to look at was adding differentiation in ranks. In the diploma program, faculty had been instructors, basically, is my understanding. But in the College of Nursing, where we offered the baccalaureate degree, they needed to have the opportunity to move from one rank to another. In other words, if they met certain criteria, then they could put together their portfolio and they could move to the new rank. Instructors moving to assistant professors to associate professors, associate professors to professors. And this was new for this, for us at that time, for this faculty. And so they needed to do a lot of work. And we looked into other universities and colleges and looked at the different criteria for rankings that they had, and then we looked at the ones that might apply to us. And the faculty were just great on working very hard in doing that and trying, and they were growing and understanding, how this would be effective in helping them grow as faculty, as well as changing the environment, of the institution at that time.
The kinds of things that those on the outside, like me, don't really even think about.
No,
but those are big changes.
Yes, they're big changes. Yes.
Pat Howard, Director of Nursing, Education, St. John's Hospital.
Yes.
You got to fit these students, these new nurses, into places where they benefit the hospital and benefit the students too. How are these new students doing?
Yes. The new students bring a warmth and excitement, and they're doing great for us. We have several of them that are starting a new nursing residency program at the hospital to help them bridge between school and working on the units, and they love that. They are very, very smart students and technologically very smart students. So they're picking up on things quickly, doing very well.
You went to this school in the 70s,
I did
right?
go to this school.
Yeah, and so
yes.
you know the differences. It has
I'm an
changed
old-timer,
a lot.
yes, yes.
It's changed a lot.
Yes. I graduated in 1970, and we worked almost year-round at school then, and learned a lot through the 3 years as a diploma school before it became a baccalaureate school. But the sisters were teaching then, and they were strict, but also very smart, wanting us to do well. Yeah. Our class was close. We supported one another, built great relationships, and it was just, nursing's a great career to do that. Great career.
Thanks, Pat. They've seen a lot of changes here at the St. John's College of Nursing, and they're likely to see a lot more in the future as the demand for nurses rises, as they look forward to their 126th year. With another Illinois Story in Springfield, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.